Welcome to the Middale Roundup with Athletic Director Andy Collier. How you doing this morning, Andy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I can't complain, man. You know, we got done with Christmas, New Year, new season. Hey, high school sports. We'll talk about it today.
We're on the downhill swing of winter sports.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But hey, winter sports is going good right now. You know, we're going to talk about a little bit about high school basketball that's here in the Metro. You know, you got your Middle City Bombers, Dale City Eagles, and the Collier Titans. Right now, sitting in 5A, you got Middle City. Sitting at 6A, you got the Middle City Boys. Playing good ball.
Better.
Got a couple wins in some tournaments, but still not where they need to be right now.
True. They had a good weekend. Just came off the Constellation Finals at the Deer Creek tournament. Really are starting to play better as a team.
Yes, sir.
They're still young. They're learning a lot of different ways to win now, which is good. And they'll be a tough out for somebody in playoffs.
Yes,
and as far as Midwest City goes, they're going to be really good in the future.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're really young, and we both know that. But you switch over to your Middle City girls, the girls team. I know Coach Knight got them kind of going in the right direction, doing some really, really, really big things. Right now, with the girls, I know getting the big win this weekend over Booker T. Washington and the more invitation that's anytime you can beat Booker T, you got to be excited.
Oh yeah, I had an AD reach out to me and say your girls at Midwest City are the hottest team in 6A basketball, and I don't think that you can argue that. You go back to even last week or 2 weeks ago having a big game against Choctaw, winning.
Yeah, it's a big win.
Coming back down 7 or 8 and winning in overtime, which was a great game. A Choctaw girl hit a shot
at the buzzer
at half court to put it into overtime, but the girls really fighting through that, coming back and finishing that off. Then going to a good tournament in Moore and playing in the semis, a team from Kansas that has won 6 out of the last state championships.
Yes.
6 out of the last 7 state championships. Midwest City girls handled them all night, ended up winning that, and then played the number 4 team, Booker T, and beat them by 12.
Yeah.
So right now, Midwest City girls are really one of the top teams in the state, and they're playing like it.
I mean, they're sitting at 13-3. I mean, you can't ask for a better record at that. I know, Coach Knight's coming from having a little young man.
Yeah.
So I know she's excited to be back out there coaching the girls, and it's done a great job with these girls so far. I'm telling you right now, like I said, I think they're sitting at number 5 in class, 6A. So it tells you where they're at, girls basketball. Man.
It does. Yeah, it does. And I will say this, both boys and girls, they're peaking at the right time.
Yes, sir.
And that's kind of what that sport is all about. You don't want to start too fast.
Yeah.
And I think both of them at the right time, they're playing their best basketball. Their teams are.
Then you move over to the class 5A, girls and boys. You got Dale City, girls, and then Collier girls. I think Dale City girls. I think Coach is it Coach Webb?
Yeah, Mariah Webb, and she's doing a great job. They're a top 15 team now. They've made their way into the rankings. They play hard, they play discipline, and they're another team kind of like Midwest City's boys that are going to be a very tough out for somebody. They're young too, and people don't want to play them in the playoffs. And then you move over to obviously Del City's boys, and they're a top 5 team. The rankings kind of threw me off a little bit looking at Oklahoma secondary sports rankings. You have Carl Albert number 1, which is deserving. They've lost a couple of nail biters, but they're still really, really good. And then Tulsa Memorial, and then Tulsa Hale has passed Del City for some reason. And
that might goes off wins and losses. So I know Del City got
I think it does.
Del City took a couple losses and then went down to Texas and played. Didn't have their All-American center playing with him. Brandon Garrison. Congratulations to him.
Sure.
Making McDonald's All-American.
McDonald's All-American.
That's
I think,
big time.
Talking to Coach Hatchett this morning, I think maybe that's our 4th in the district.
And that's big time. You're going to be playing next to,
LeBron James'
son.
son, yeah.
LeBron going to be in I might want to get this in his suitcase and just go hang out, man, so I can see that. But that's really good, But Del City's a team that, we talk about the rankings, but it's a team that, when the lights come on and it's time to get the playoffs and all that, they're going to be one of the top,
No doubt.
They'll be in the Final Four,
They're one of the best, if not the best, coach teams in the state. And then they've got a lot of players coming back from players that have played in the state finals and won a state final.
Yes,
so,
sir.
The number 5 ranking, I bet you Coach Hatchett is excited about. Just means that somebody is overlooking them.
Yeah, hey, that's something you can put on the bulletin board
Yeah,
right there.
because they're really good. So both Dell City girls and boys, same thing. I think they're starting to play together at the right time. Switching over to Carl Albert, we had the Titan Classic last week, which was one of the best tournaments.
Great tournament.
It's awesome, and there was some really good competition. Carl Albert's girls played Tahlequah's girls in the semifinals.
Man, that was a great game.
Great game, and Carl Albert pulled it off. Tahlequah is a team that beat them a couple of years ago in the state quarterfinals, and Tahlequah has a lot of girls coming back. They are a top 4 team.
Yes.
Carl Albert wins that. And then Carl Albert's boys, number 1, they ended up playing PC North, which I think PC North, I've seen a lot of basketball. PC North might be the best team in the state, and I think that ended up Carl Albert's boys losing 62-61.
Yeah.
And so that kind of tells you how good Carl Albert's boys are.
I'll tell you, like I said, I know the boys coming at 13-3, like I said, coming off a tough loss to PC North in overtime. I know this weekend and this Friday night they'll take on Piedmont, and then right around the corner they'll have that Dell City, Carl Albert, battle of the city.
Yeah.
2 good teams. Like I said, tomorrow night you got Midwest City taking on Dell City. I mean, I know Midwest City might not be where everybody thinks they should be right now, but I think, hey, you got to go play that game. I know Coach Hatchett will be ready for that game tomorrow night because it'll be a tough game because, like I said, Midwest City's no easy task, though. You got to be ready for it.
And I always tell people this, you as a former Bomber just like myself, that Sooner Rose battle, the Midwest City, Dell City, it doesn't matter how much better you are on paper, that's going to be a battle. These kids have played against each other all their lives. They're not scared of each other, and it's going to come down to a couple of the last possessions of the game, both boys and girls. It doesn't matter.
And then Collier girls, man, like I said, they lost a tough game to number 2 Edmond Memorial. Edmond Memorial, I was at that game. Has some girls that can go. I think they got a couple girls going D1. Because at the end of the day, Collier girls, I think they're number 2 in the state.
Behind Sapulpa.
Yeah, and they're playing 4 to 5 freshmen, in the ball game right now. So it just tells you, these freshmen, as you know, as the season goes on, they're not freshmen anymore, they become sophomores. No. So I think Coach Ritchie has done a great job. He has 2 losses, and both to really good teams.
Well, 2 of the top teams, if you just overall state of Oklahoma, that Edmond Memorial game, Carl Albert had their chances. They had their chances late in the 4th quarter, but Edmond Memorial, right now Edmond North and Edmond Memorial are the 2 best teams in the state.
Yes,
and
sir.
so
Yes, sir.
playing as tough as they did, nobody likes to say there's a good loss. There's no such thing in Middale. But if you look at both Carl Albert and Carlos boys and girls, the 2 losses they had last weekend were to 2 of the better teams in the state. It does make you better,
like
especially for playoff time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's something that you got to go work on and let's clean up and get better. So I think Coach Price and Coach Ritchie's sitting in a great spot. Both teams. Boys sitting at number 1 and the girls sitting at top 2 or 3 in the state. Like I said, those freshmen are getting better. The senior led by the 3 senior. I think it's Diaz, and then Sutton, and then Kafer.
Kofer.
Make sure I get that name right. It's kind of tough, yeah. But 3 young ladies that started last year has been in the playoff run, so they know what it takes to get there. And I know last year, I don't know if you call it upset because once you get a tournament, anybody can win. I think this year those girls will be a little bit hungry moving forward, going into the state tournament playoff. That I think they want to see their chance. Go out as a winner as a senior. 100%
agree, and I will say this: we're getting closer and closer to where it's time for the final rankings to come out, which determines who gets and hosts.
I was going to ask you that.
It's a little bit different in football and in baseball. You don't have a ranking system; you have districts. In Oklahoma, in basketball, you have a ranking system where the coaches rank each week, and then based on those rankings is how playoffs match up. And we know in postseason it's all about matchups. I look at a team like Midwest City's girls, the Douglas girl from Midwest City, she's dominating. She's averaging 15, 16 points a game. She plays a high post, that high and low post that it's very difficult to stop.
And she's quick.
And I've said this, if you just compare sports, playing high post is a lot like playing tight end. It's a mismatch, especially if you're quick. She's got all the tools. So, I think we have a good chance in Middale, basketball-wise, going into postseason for 4 of our 6 teams to host a regional. which many districts just
Can't
are
say
happy
that.
hosting one, and we're going to be hosting 4 probably.
Yeah.
So,
That's good
you
stuff.
know, ending talk about basketball, and hopefully we'll talk in a couple weeks and be a little more clear where the postseason is. But I think right now all of our programs are on the upward direction and in good shape.
That's good stuff. You know, we'll switch over to wrestling real quick. You know, Midwest City, I got to give it up to RJ. You know, Mr. Walker.
He does a good job.
He's done a good job. I know they didn't win district. You know, and you know in the district duels. You know, going against number one, having Edmund North in that, it's tough though. But I think what he's done with this program this year, you gotta, you know, I know he might not, but in my mind, he could be up for Coach of the Year. What he's done with that Bowman program has kind of brought it back from where it was. But I tell you, if he keeps doing what he's doing, he's gonna have them back, you know, like they were back in the '90s, though.
That'd be awesome.
And I tell you, it's good to have a guy like alumni because I know he cares. He's always posting stuff on Facebook and Twitter, and that's what it's all about. Though it makes those guys that hey used to wrestle for him, the DJ Chotes, and you know those type of guys like, hey man, you know we're coming back, and so it's good to see what he's doing with the Bombers wrestling team. And then you talk about Carl Albert Hodges. I mean, they're sitting at 8-4. They're one of the top 5 teams in the in 5A wrestling. I tell you, they got a good chance to. You know, they got some tough teams. I tell you, a team that you know I know that me and you kind of both know about, and you hear about the last a few years has been Elgin. You know, you got El Reno, you got Elgin. Kuwait is always good in Collinsville. And you got Carl Albert sitting right there with those guys, and those are all great wrestling programs.
Yeah.
And to put Carl Albert right there in the mix with them, it just tells you what Coach Hodges and Coach Miller has done with those guys over there.
Yeah, I will say as the athletic director, I'm extremely pleased with the wrestling
Yes,
this year.
sir. Yes, sir.
I think that all 3 programs are putting out products that compete, and that's always important. Coach Schauber at Del City, they have moved up into rankings
Yes, sir.
based on some dual wins in 5A, and they have numbers. They have kids coming out, kids that are interested in it. RJ's done the same thing at Midwest City, and I think that's the biggest key in wrestling sometimes is that in order to really have success as a dual team, you have to make sure that you can fill every weight class.
Yes.
And he's done that. He's beat the halls. He's gone to other sports, just like Jamie has, and they've got kids to come out for wrestling. Coach Hodges, on the other hand, we've seen this the last couple of years. We've seen that this year.
So to see the results.
Yes, and they finished high last year, and this year now, you know, I look at it, and you kind of can explain a little bit of the difference in dual,
Yes.
as well as team. I think that the way that I read things and the way that I watch, I think that they actually have a better chance to score higher on team state than they do at a dual state. How does that work? What does that mean?
Dual state is you know, and this is funny. I'm gonna tell a story. You know, my son wrestled for UCO. They're sitting at number 1 or number 2. They wrestled in the duels. It was a college duels a couple weeks ago in Louisville, Kentucky, and you know he had a great weekend. He gets down to the last match of wrestling. You know, number 2 team at the time. They're number 1, and they get beat by 3 points. And you know he was probably favored to win. And so when it happens when you're wrestling in a duel, is that you get points for the bonus 3, you know, the win, you know, bonus 5, or you know, you get a pin at 6. Well, you know, you go out there and it's kind of like a matchup. You know, it's who's supposed to win. If say Gabe won his match, and that's 3 points. Well, then his other guy don't get beat as bad.
Right.
That guy don't score as many points. They could have won the match by the duel by 1 point. When you're going out as team individual, like if you're in a team tournament like state, so you get 3 guys to go to state and they're in the championship, but then you got 6 guys on the back end.
So you're getting points for those in a non-team dual setting.
Yes.
In just the regular team state. You get points for those guys wrestling the finals, but you're getting those little points on the back end.
So
and
you can have 2 guys in the state, but then you can have 8 guys in the back end that's placing third. You know what I'm saying? That's getting you points. So
I would take that as a fan, and I would say that tells you right there with Carl Albert having the chance to score higher in a team state.
Yes.
That Coach Hodges is getting the most out of all of his kids.
And the thing is, like, so when you go, and you might have a guy. I use Miller. You know. Coach Miller's son, you know, say his son wrestles 125, but Collinsville has a 125 that's a stud too. They go head to head, and then say, you know, Miller beats him, But then there's another kid at 120. You know what I'm saying? So it's all kind of about the matchup. So if a kid gets knocked off, he gets in. This kid can goes up. But it's team state. I like dual state. Dual state is the funnest thing ever because you're with your buddies. Yeah, you're sitting there locked arms. You're cheering and. You know, my kid did. I think it was, state is fun, but dual state is really, really fun because you win, you move on, and then you go back the next day. And I know they do it out in Enid now. They used to do it down at Shawnee.
Right.
And I love Shawnee. One, it was a little bit closer, but you're in that little. I mean, because the Enid it's a little bit bigger arena, but when you're in that arena or in Shawnee, it's a little bit smaller, but you can hear everybody cheering. And you can kind of walk around to different mats. But both situations, I think Collier got a chance to do really, really good in state, and they can up. And I think with Hodges and some of the matchup, it really comes to matchup too. You can bump a kid up too and dual state. Say, hey, I got my 175 pounder. I'm gonna bump him up because we need this big win here. We might take this loss here and lose 1 or 2 points, but he might bump up and get a pin here and get you 6 points. So it all comes to matchup though. It's fun when you get to see the coaches. They got a game plan for it. It's just like any other sport though. But I really think that and I think they'll do excellent in state, though. I think they'll get a couple of guys that'll walk away with state championships this year.
Well, like I said, I'm really pleased with wrestling across the board, and we've gotten better, and that's all that we've asked, and we've got more kids involved and more kids that are wanting to wrestle from the male side and the female side. Our female wrestling is in the state of Oklahoma. There's just not. It's new.
No,
but we've got more and more athletes and female athletes in Mid-Del that are coming out for it. And so very pleased with that. Switching over now to the final sport. Let's go, final winter sport. Let's go to swim.
Swim. Tell me a little bit. I mean, I don't know how to swim, so tell me about swim.
Swim.
I wish I knew how to swim.
I will tell you this. We have a lot of kids out in Mid-Del for swim. I think 61 kids, 64 kids out for swim. Majority of those kids are from Carl Albert. We do have Midwest City and Del City kiddos that are part of the Mid-Del Swim.
So is it one team then?
It's a little bit different. It's one team, but you have to split up sometimes within 3 because Midwest City is 6A. So when you go to different competitions, we have three different teams. Okay. But it is one Mid-Del team when it comes to practice and everything else. We're improving numbers from the Midwest City and Del City side, which is very important to me. I want kids to come out. For a lot of different, for every sport, I want kids to come out. But swim is growing at those two places. Carl Albert, they have a swim program, boys and girls, that is one of the top in 5A and really top in all of the state. Right now, looking at it, girls look like to me right now they can improve and become the top team. But I think that they're right now looking at probably the second best team in 5A. I think they have a chance to do some damage in state, and then boys are the best team in 5A right now. And now there's teams right there on their tail, but right now going into postseason conference as well as regionals, Carl Albert boys will be favored and girls will be in the mix.
So tell me this, so what do they hold their practice at? Because I know
good question.
None of the Mid-Del schools have pool.
Right.
And I know Hera does, but so what do you guys hold y'all's practice at?
So we have always had a contract that we work with Rose State, and Rose State has always been great to our kids, our programs, this and that. And they've had some problems over the last few months with their pool breaking down and some different things, which knocks us out of practice facilities. We've found some help with Hera. They've been great, but with as many kids as we have, it's not quite big enough to host all of our practices. Yeah. So we've worked a deal with the YMCA, both the Midwest City YMCA as well as Early One YMCA, and they've been a blessing to us. And we've got girls practicing at 5 in the morning, boys practicing after school. I mean, it's one of those things where they work extremely hard, and we finally found a couple of pools. But you're right, a lot of people don't have pools.
Yes, sir.
And because of that, we do everything we can just to find pool time. But that also tells you how impressive our kiddos are, because they are competing at the highest level, and they're probably getting half the pool time
that they should get.
So I often say, picture having a football team, and you're not having a football field to have practice on, but you can go in the weight room every day and get better, and then you go play on Friday night.
Yeah.
So our coaches have done a good job. Coach Norman's done a good job. Coach Cox has done a good job. They've done a good job keeping these athletes focused and getting them in shape without having that pull time.
That's good stuff. Well, hey, let's take a quick break before we finish this up. We'll be right back after one of our sponsors, the Middale Roundup Show with Mr. Andy Collier. We'll be right back.
At Ortho Central, our goal is simple: to make your life better. Whether it's getting you back to the sport you love, chasing after your grandkids, or simply enjoying a day without pain. With locations in Norman, Midwest City, and now Newcastle, Ortho Central's team of surgeons, physicians, physical therapists, and athletic trainers are committed to helping you live your best life. Ortho Central, we're part of your team.
Welcome back to Middale Roundup with my man Andy Carter, the athletic director. We're gonna finish this strong, man. Like I said, we're gonna get a chance to talk a little winter sports. I know he's excited about what's going on in the Middale area. All three schools are doing great, man. And like I said, it keeps a smile on his face, man. When all three schools are doing good, it makes his job easier. But we're gonna talk about some serious things that's going moving forward. We're gonna talk about the OSSA transfer. The separation and all that. Will you tell me a little bit about that?
And I think it's important every time me and you talk that we kind of give an update with OSSAA.
Yeah.
It seems like in our profession things change all the time. You got the portal in the college, and
Yes,
it almost seems like you got a portal in high school sometimes.
It's crazy.
But there's not much change with the transfer policy in high school athletics right now. Where you establish eligibility is where you're eligible.
Yes, sir.
And you establish as a ninth grader. And we in Middale, we do that same thing. We really focus on 6 through 12 when it comes to where you establish. But there's not much movement on the transfer policies. We're same spot. As far as the other thing going on with the OSSA, there's a survey out there now that changes Rule 14, either adjusts, changes, or keeps it the same. Rule 14 at the OSSA basically talks about private versus public schools, which does affect Middale. We have a lot of sports that we compete with private schools. Mm-hmm. You look at matchups. Del City and Carl Albert have had big football matchups with McGinnis in the past.
Yes, sir.
You look at some of our other sports when it comes to tennis, golf, things like that. We have a lot of competition with private schools. And this whole Rule 14 change, basically, we will see if it happens, but it's basically saying the OSSA has put a survey out wanting to know if it's best that we go to a system where private schools are still in districts and everything else, but at the end of the year they go into their own classification when it comes to postseason. I don't know if that's going to pass or not, but that's right now probably the biggest thing going on with the OSSA right now.
So how do you feel about that? So you're saying Bishop McGinnis will still play Carl Albert or Mill City or whoever they play
right.
on their regular season game. So then when it comes playoff, they'll go play against all the other
private schools.
Private schools like Castle Hall,
Mm-hmm.
schools like that. It's a lot of private schools though. So I guess it'd be about the same as playing a regular 5A or a
right.
6A bracket though. So
and they do this in Texas. I'm not a private. I've never coached or taught at a private school. I can tell you in Middale, we just want to compete against who we have to compete against. And so we don't get caught up in the private versus public stuff. I do believe there's a lot of sports where private schools have dominated.
Yes, sir.
I think the last 2 years, I think Carl Albert Tennis has won the public schools tennis tournament.
Literally gets down to.
But then it goes to regionals and state, and they place in the top 4, but they're behind 3 private schools.
Yeah.
And so there are some sports that I think that if there ever is a separation, I think that it gives us a better chance.
Yes, sir.
Does it affect us in other sports? No, not every sport.
No.
I think at the end of the day, we're going to have to line up and play whoever. And so we're fine with that around here. We've never shied away from that around here. But I do think that there are some different scenarios coming down the pipe that really could benefit some sports and not do anything to other sports.
Man, like I said, it'd be interesting to see if that happens. But I think you kind of put everybody in a class, and it kind of makes. I think Lincoln Christian and some of those Castor Halls,
Heritage Hall.
You're looking at some great competition.
Yeah.
Bishop McGinnis. Their nemesis will tell you. They might be all for it because their nemesis has been Carl Albert. the last 4 or 5
And that's a
years,
good way to look at it. We look at it from a public school and see what our advantages or disadvantages are. McGinnis could look at it and say we may want it because it keeps us away from some Middle schools.
Well, Andy, I know, this next subject, we talked about, I just want to kind of say, I kind of talked about it on my show the other day, the incident happened at Dell City.
Right.
I want to let everybody know, and I know you know as well, and I kind of said on my own show, it has nothing to do with Dell City. Dell City's still a great school. I know you as the athletic director, when all that happened, it had probably sent a little bit of shockwave, but, it makes people, scared to go to games, but, this is happening at Walmarts. It's happening at movie theaters. I mean, it's happening every day. Fortunately, it was nothing like that. It was some young men that got a scuffle and things went wrong. Hopefully, us as adults, moms, dads, we can teach our kids to learn from this. Hey, we don't want this to happen. But Dell City and Coach Lenny and Coach Jones have both done a great job, and all the other coaches over at Dell City has done a great job of making Dell City a great place to play, be at, and go to school at. Me and Andy's both, like I said, we graduated from New York City, but, this could happen at any school. And I know with this happening, it's caused some things to change. And so I know you want to kind of talk about
I do.
Talk about that.
And I'll start off by saying, it was not Mid-Del students involved.
Not at all.
But to be honest with you, that's really not anything that really needs to be talked about anyways. We have an issue.
Yeah.
We have an issue in society, I think, and I think the issue is we are tending to use guns and do things that we probably shouldn't in public. I mean, I think that it can happen anywhere. We talked about this. I mean, let's be real. As I'm going through some of our prohibited items, I'm looking at it and I'm getting it from local colleges, and I'm thinking, why did OU go to some of this stuff? Well, they had a guy that had a bomb outside of a stadium.
Yes, sir.
So it happens everywhere. I think our world has become almost immune to it at times, and I think we got to get back to making sure that we're doing everything we can to keep all of our kids and patrons and everybody safe in big spaces. I think that we have done a good job in Mid-Del at this. The other night was not a reflection of the protocols, not at all. I will tell you this, in football, when we play in district games or huge games, we have what we call closed games. And that's kind of what we've decided to go to with our events, is almost more of a closed games like we do with our big football games. And what that means is that you're going to have fans from both schools, and that's who's coming.
Yes, sir.
And at the, it's the fans from both schools, and then the students from both schools need to show IDs to get in. That's really no different than a college game or anywhere else. The tickets are sold. The people that are going to these games are going to be people that, and I think I put in the protocols associated. That doesn't mean grandparents. That doesn't mean aunts and uncles, friends and family. They can't come to these games.
Yes, sir.
That just means that we need to make sure that we're catering to our people, because we are lucky in Mid-Del where we are very good at entertainment, and there's a lot of people on a weeknight that can get a cheap ticket and come watch good entertainment.
Yes, sir.
We just need to make sure everybody at that game is safe, and sometimes in order to do that, we've got to adjust some things. So we have done things like this in Mid-Del for years. We're going to continue. I think the easiest way to explain it is we're going to have closed games like we do big football games. I think the biggest adjustment is going to be, and we should have done this a long time ago probably, we're going to look at like colleges do in bigger venues, and in order to have, if you want a bag, it needs to be clear. We're not going to sit there and let people come in with bags, this and that. We're going to have clear bags, and it may be a change for people, and that may not be good. But at the end of the day, we have to do what's best for us. That's right.
For the fans, the kids, and everything
That's right.
else.
And so a bag, plastic bags, and making sure that we understand that these games are going to. We're going to get back to being everything we can to get safe.
Well, you talk about clear back, same thing UCO does.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like.
Well, I'll tell you this, Tony. The when somebody said, "Where did you come up with these protocols?" Well, in Mid-Del, I'm going to tell you now. In the fall, every football program, they want to get to UCO to play. That means you made it to the finals.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You got to do the same thing.
In basketball, you want to get to the Lloyd Noble because that means that you're in the semis or the finals.
Yes, sir.
So what do? I go look at UCO, I look at the Lloyd Noble, And now you see where we get a lot of our stuff. Eventually, we're going to have to do it anyways if we're getting that far. And that's what we strive for here. So we're going to look more like the venues that our goals are for.
No, I think it's good. I think the most important thing is people's safety. Luckily nobody got hurt the other night. Everything worked out good. Like I said, once again, Robert Jones, Laney Hatchett, and all the principal staff, everybody on board at Dell City has done a great job. So I just want to let them guys know. I know I do a little bit of work with Dell City. I know Coach Jones was kind of upset. It's like, man, your image is not ruined. You got a great program over there, man. You're putting kids in college. You got an All-American.
Yeah.
McDonald's All-American.
Yeah.
Not a lot of schools can say that. So I'll just tell you, congratulations to like I said, what Dell City's done and what you do, Andy, for the program, man. You just do a really good job, man.
Appreciate it.
And I know it has to be a tough job, but you do a really good job, keeping everything lined out for the Mid-Dell schools, and they're lucky to have you on board.
Thank
We
you.
are.
Thank you.
Well, any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, I say we do this here right before playoffs. I'm telling you, it looks like we've got a chance, winter sport-wise, in a lot of different things. I want to get a shout-out like I always do. I know we concentrate on this program with high school. I've got to give a shout-out to our middle school programs.
Yeah.
They're ending, and their coaches, they're ending their winter sports season. And I went and watched the basketball game last week between two middle school programs within our school district, and I left thinking, that looks like small high school basketball. And that's a good problem to have.
No, it's a good problem to have.
That's a good. We have a lot of kids out. We have kids that are extremely blessed, and we have coaches that are coaching hard and teaching these kids life lessons and teaching them what it's like to be a Bomber, Eagle, and Titan, which is really going to help the whole programs once they get into high school.
And I tell you, man, at the end of the day, they're all friends, no matter what school
Yeah.
they go to, and that's the most important thing, because you might play against each other in high school, but you never know, you might end up being, teammates in college or something like that. You talked about that last Thursday night. You had the Collier 7th grade girls. Collier 7th grade girls versus Middle City 7th grade girls. You talking about
went overtime.
Yeah, overtime.
And then the 8th grade game turned into a last-second bucket
second.
to win it, and the crowds are great.
Yes.
I mean, the crowds look like a high school game.
They did, man. I'm sitting on the edge,
Yes.
man. I'm nervous. I'm biting my nails, but I just tell you, man, all the programs, all like you said, you can't talk about all three programs, Mid-Dell, Dell City, Carl Albert, and then what am I missing? Midway City. All three of the middle school basketball programs has done well.
And wrestling too.
Yeah.
They've got a full
yes,
wrestling
it's a
squad. We don't swim at that level, but wrestling and basketball, it's been really good at the middle school level.
Good place to be, man. I'll tell you right
Very
now,
much.
man. I mean, they're getting gold balls over here. They're not chasing silver, so good problem to have.
It is a good problem, no doubt.
Well, folks, we appreciate you guys watching another great episode of Mid-Dell Roundup with my man Andy Collier, the athletic director. Does a great job. So we'll see you next time. Have a great day.